It is day 2 of the Sean Diddy Combs federal trial. Combs' ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, she is one of Combs' many accusers, testifying as a central witness.
Is she ready?
Very ready and confident. Thank you.
Among other things, the singer is expected to address the 2016 video of Combs attacking her in a hotel when she was his girlfriend.
He was once seen as a music industry giant, praised for his influence, success, and power. But that image took a serious hit when Cassie Ventura, his former partner, took the witness stand. In court, she shared deeply troubling details about their past, and the atmosphere changed instantly. Even seasoned reporters were taken aback. Diddy, usually composed and in control, appeared visibly shaken as Cassie described what she says happened in private, turning a spotlight on a side of the story the public had never heard before.
She walked in there, Rachel. She had on a brown dress, form-fitting, visibly pregnant, head held high, and did not make any eye contact with the defendant, with Sean Combs. She said that Sean Combs directed everything from what she had on to the lighting in the room to how she was supposed to interact with the person that she was having sex with. And again, just to reiterate what is a freak-off, the freak-off essentially was something that Cassie said she learned about through Sean Combs about a year into their relationship. He described it as voyeurism, wanting to watch her have sex with someone else. And she said that she did it because she was 22, 21. She was young. She didn't know any better, and that she wanted to please Sean Combs.
Among other things, the singer is expected to address the 2016 video of Combs attacking her in a hotel when she was his girlfriend. Combs has pleaded not guilty. His attorneys argue the video is evidence of jealousy, not sex trafficking. And now for the first time, jurors are hearing what Cassie has to say about that and other aspects of their 10-year relationship.
Cassie Ventura's testimony in court has brought serious attention to her past relationship with Sean Diddy Combs, marking a major turning point in the case. She described moments from their relationship that she now regrets, saying she went along with things when she was just 21 or 22, trying to please him. Among the key points jurors are hearing is the troubling 2016 video of Combs allegedly attacking her in a hotel, which his lawyers argue was a sign of jealousy, not a crime. Combs has pleaded not guilty. For years, he stood as a towering figure in music, business, and pop culture, founding Bad Boy Records, launching brands, and building a multi-million-dollar empire. But Cassie's words pulled back the curtain, on a different side. While the world saw him as a polished professional, she painted a picture of someone completely different behind closed doors. On the second day of the trial, Diddy walked in with confidence, dressed in his usual sharp style, flanked by his legal team, but that demeanor quickly faded. Within just 30 minutes of Cassie taking the stand, his composure cracked. Witnesses say he looked visibly shaken, constantly shifting in his seat, fidgeting with his tie and cufflinks, even scribbling notes and handing them off to his attorneys so frantically that one had to signal him to stop. His once commanding presence seemed to shrink as Cassie calmly laid out details of their relationship, leaving Diddy looking pale and overwhelmed. Some courtroom observers said he looked like someone who had lost control for the first time in his life. Others said he appeared physically unwell, closing his eyes repeatedly as if trying to block out her words. And this was only the beginning. What Cassie revealed next reportedly left the entire courtroom stunned and raised serious questions about the legacy Diddy has spent his life building.
At some point in time, she actually had said that she looked forward to the freak-offs. Why did Cassie express looking forward to these said freak-offs?
When the prosecution asked her, was there ever a time that you enjoyed the freak-offs? This is when Cassie got choked up, and she said, I did, but only because I got to spend one-on-one time with Combs, and I really did love him.
And that is speaking to the psychological abuse, in addition to the physical abuse that she potentially experienced.
Yeah, she's definitely laying out someone who was young, who was influenced by wanting to have this record career. She signed a 10-album deal with Bad Boy Entertainment, led by Sean Combs, and basically describes being enamored by Sean Combs, loving him, not knowing about certain things sexually, and him sort of telling her, teaching her about that. And what you hear is someone that was young and she even said, you know, I was young, I was naive, I didn't know any better. But she's really telling the story of someone who thought she was going to be with someone in this music industry that was going to help her career, that cared about her, but quickly learned after the freak-offs that wasn't the case. And what I thought was also interesting is she said that after that first freak-off, she said she felt dirty. she didn't want to do it. And when she brought up the idea of having a conversation about the freak-offs in an email, which the jurors saw, she said she backpedaled in the email because Combs responded by saying, I know, you don't want to do it. And she said, oh, no, well, it's not that. But that was the beginning. That was in 2010, where she brings up in an email that she wanted to have a conversation about this. And in her words, she didn't want to do it, but she felt like she had to do it.
Well, Diane, prosecutors have wasted no time getting right into the alleged abuse that Cassie Ventura says she endured for years. Ventura telling jurors, quote, he would bash my head, knock me over, drag me, kick me, stomp me in the head when I was down. She also got into the nature of those so-called freak-offs, saying that they involved hiring an escort and they performed under the direction of Combs, saying that they happened so frequently it eventually became a job for her to set them up. Ventura said she did not feel she had much of a choice but to participate, that she feared that Combs would retaliate or potentially blackmail her if she did not. And she's had at times to take, she's taken deep breaths, pausing her testimony, Combs appearing to be listening pretty passively with his hands in his lap at the defense table there.
When Cassie Ventura finally took the stand, the courtroom fell completely silent. Everyone knew her testimony would be intense, but few were ready for the full weight of what she had to share. After years of staying quiet, Cassie began calmly, recounting how she first met Sean Diddy Combs at 19. He was already a powerful music mogul, while she was just starting out. From the beginning, she said, the power imbalance was clear and, in her view, carefully exploited. Her story unfolded gradually. She spoke of how he allegedly controlled where she went, who she saw, and even how he handled her career, claiming he threatened to bury her music or sabotage collaborations if she didn't do what he wanted. Then, she dropped a bombshell. Diddy had allegedly installed tracking software on her phone, monitoring her movements and gradually isolating her from her support network. The judge had to intervene several times as Diddy reacted visibly, shaking his head, whispering to lawyers, and making expressions the jury could clearly see. But the mood shifted completely when Cassie presented messages, emails, and texts allegedly from Diddy, showing apologies for violent behavior and threats to her career if she ever spoke out. He looked stunned, clearly caught off guard that she had saved them. Then came the most serious part, Cassie's detailed claims of physical abuse. She described being pushed, thrown, and in some cases, choked until she nearly passed out. Sigio. Jury's reaction was emotional. One woman wiped away tears. Another juror couldn't look at Diddy. Veteran reporters said they were unprepared for how raw and specific the testimony was. And it was all leading to a key moment. A hotel incident that many believe could change the entire direction of the trial.
Cassie's relationship with Diddy. Some of those details we've seen in prior lawsuits, but to hear her on the stand actually giving those details, reliving those moments herself. Also, you have to remember, she's very pregnant right now. So I'm going to be curious to see how long she makes it on the stand, how she's emotionally able to weather all of these questions. And what's going to be interesting to watch is, you know, the defense from the very start in their opening statement said that she chose to be there. So I'm going to be curious to see how she responds to questions about, was this her choice or did she feel like she had to do all of these things?
I think what made Cassie emotional is having to describe the details of the freak-off and why she did it. When she talked about wanting to do it to please Sean Combs, that's when she broke down. Up until that point, she had just been answering the questions. She's a little soft-spoken at times, but that's when she got emotional. When she had to answer the question about if she enjoyed it, that's when she broke down because she said, I enjoyed being with Sean Combs. And she says, I did it because it made him happy.
What does the expressions of the jurors look like?
The jurors are laser focused on what Cassie has to say. And that's to be expected, right? Because she is the person who will likely be on the stand, according to attorneys, for 2, maybe 3 days. She's the one that was in the relationship with Sean Combs for over 10 years. So she's got a lot to say, and she's just getting started.
Just how important is Cassie's testimony to the prosecution?
I think it really connects the dots, Rachel. When you look at that initial indictment and what's being alleged, she really is the person that has probably the most information about this idea that the prosecution says, which is creating a criminal enterprise for Sean Combs' sexual desires. Something else that the jurors saw today that sort of connects it back to this alleged criminal enterprise are 7 photos of people that were very close to Sean Combs, one even his former chief of staff. And these were all people that Cassie Ventura was able to name and explain the functions in terms of what they did: security, driver, chief of staff, someone that handled financials. So it's showing that she knew some of these people, again, because she was with him, around him for so long.
"I thought I was going to die that night," Cassie said softly as the courtroom leaned in to hear every word. She was describing an incident at the Four Seasons Hotel, an event never reported before, not by the media, not by blogs, and not by fans. Cassie explained that she had stayed silent out of fear, for her safety, her career, and because she believed no one would take her word over a powerful figure like Diddy. But now, on the witness stand, she wasn't holding back. According to her testimony, the evening began as a routine industry party, but quickly turned. She said Diddy became furious after seeing her talking with another music executive. He allegedly grabbed her arm hard enough to leave marks and whispered threats to her while keeping a composed face for others around them. Then came the most shocking claim. Cassie testified that Diddy physically dragged her through the hotel lobby to the elevator. She said she cried and tried to break free, attracting attention from hotel security, who backed off as soon as they realized who Diddy was. He asked him if everything was okay, Cassie told the court. "He never even looked at me." Her lawyer then introduced photos Cassie said she took the next morning: bruises on her arms, a swollen lip, and red marks on her neck. They weren't polished or professional. They looked like hurried, frightened selfies. Diddy's attorneys tried to block the images, arguing they were unverifiable or late evidence, but the judge allowed them. The jury's reaction was immediate and intense. One woman covered her mouth in shock, others turned away, and one juror wrote notes with a visibly shaking hand. Cassie went on to describe what happened next. Diddy allegedly threw a champagne bottle at her, smashing it against a wall, then ransacked the room, flipping furniture, punching a door, and refusing to let her leave for nearly 2 days. She said he took her phone and warned her of consequences if she tried to get help. As this part of her testimony ended, every eye in the courtroom turned to Diddy. His reaction wasn't just emotional, it was defining. It may be the moment that shapes how this entire case, and possibly his legacy, will be remembered.
I think what the defense is going to say is that this wasn't blackmail, this was not coercion, this was consensual. We know that Cassie started out with Sean Combs as an early person, with someone who is trying to get her career started, and he was going to help her. That's what the defense is going to say, that she was starting out and wanted someone to support her. They did their first record deal together. That's something I think the defense is going to focus on, and had it not been for Sean Combs, she wouldn't be where she is right now. The prosecution obviously is saying he was in control. It may have started out as a consensual. It may have started out with her being excited about seeing him, but ultimately he took control of that relationship. He took control of her career. This is their key witness, and she's on that stand trying to explain all of the charges that the prosecution wants to hit home with that jury.
No, there was a moment early on when Cassie mentioned Dallas Austin, who she called a friend, who's a producer. So I don't know if that's someone that we're going to hear from. We know that there were pictures shown to prospective jurors that are well-known celebrities, you know, Kanye West, Kid Cudi, Lauren London. We don't know, though, how they fit yet into why they were even asked, do you know these people? Are you familiar with them?
So the prosecution is questioning Cassie right now, still questioning her.
The defense hasn't even got a chance to, I mean, that might change based on the timing, but, you know, because she's such a key witness, it's likely that she will be on that stand the rest of the day. We learned that Cassie referred to him as Pop Pop, and Sean Combs would refer to her as CC. The prosecution says, what does CC stand for? She said Cassie Combs.
What kind of witness is Cassie coming off as to the jurors?
I think naturally when you look at her visually, people see that she's pregnant and looking like she's due any day now. So they might, you know, have empathy, sympathy for her in that way, but we don't really know. We know that they've been instructed to be fair and impartial. As to what type of witness she's coming off as, she's describing someone that she was, someone she said that was trying to figure out who she was at that time and who she was allowed to be. Now you're looking at somebody that's almost 40 years old, totally different person, but even in describing what was going on at her at that time, taking drugs, trying to please Sean Combs. She's really just sort of laying out the case for her not having a lot of control. So I think that's the takeaway. This is someone who is making it very clear that at that particular time in her life, she says she did not have any control really over what she wore, what she did, who she was having sex with. She's a different person now. But I think when she talks about those details and even reflecting on them for herself, as we saw today, she broke down in that courtroom.
It was a moment no one in that courtroom would ever forget. Diddy, the man who built an empire on his ability to stay calm under pressure, completely lost it right before everyone's eyes. The carefully crafted facade cracked and shattered, revealing something far darker beneath. This was a man who had spent decades perfecting his public image as the smooth-talking, collected mogul who never showed weakness. But as Cassie's testimony reached its most damaging points, that mask slipped. Court reporters said they had never seen anything like it. Diddy transformed from the confident industry titan who entered that morning to a cornered, desperate man. With every new allegation, he physically shrank in his seat while his legal team scrambled to control him. One lawyer repeatedly tried to calm him, even passing notes reading "Stay calm" in all caps. But nothing worked. The tension climaxed when Diddy slammed his hand on the table so hard that proceedings stopped and the judge warned him he could be removed if he didn't control himself. Throughout the testimony, witnesses saw him shaking his head, mouthing, "That's not true," forgetting the jury was watching every reaction. It was like a man who had never been challenged suddenly realizing he no longer controlled the narrative. The power dynamic had flipped. Diddy, who once controlled every part of Cassie's life, now had to sit and take her truth. The breaking point came when Cassie testified Diddy had threatened her family if she spoke out, then dropped a bombshell. She had actual audio recordings of his threats. When these played, Diddy erupted, shouting, "You know that's not how it happened," before his lawyers physically restrained him. The judge called a recess, but the damage was done. Everyone saw it. The untouchable mogul was human after all. As he was let out, the mask was gone, replaced by a raw, exposed figure. Then came evidence no one expected. Cassie revealed years of quietly collected proof. Texts, emails, photos safely hidden from Diddy's reach. The courtroom fell silent when she mentioned text messages from other celebrities, including Diddy's closest friends and associates who had witnessed his behavior firsthand. The legal team immediately objected, but the judge overruled, calling the messages highly relevant. Diddy looked physically ill as messages from famous figures flashed on the screen, concerned friends offering support after witnessing troubling incidents. One rapper texted after a Grammy party, "You okay? What I saw wasn't right. You can stay at my place if you need to." A pop star wrote, "I've known him 15 years and never seen him act like this. Please call me." A longtime producer texted, "I can't be around this anymore. Told him to get help. Call me when you're safe." These messages shattered the narrative Diddy's team had pushed, that no one had ever seen inappropriate behavior, and these were private issues twisted by Cassie. Even more damaging were Diddy's own texts to Cassie. Apologies for violent. Outbursts, offers to make this right with money or gifts, and attempts to buy silence with millions and legal agreements. As these messages played, members of Diddy's entourage quietly slipped out of the courtroom, one by one, unable to watch the mounting evidence. By the end, Diddy sat nearly alone with just his lawyers. The support he'd walked in with vanished. The unexpected evidence had changed everything. As day 2 ended, the once untouchable king of music looked defeated. No security detail could shield him from the fallout unfolding in real time. The empire he'd spent decades building seemed to be crumbling. Cassie Ventura hadn't just told her story, she had potentially rewritten Diddy's entire legacy. The testimony, evidence, and recordings painted a picture no one could unsee. The question was no longer if Diddy could win the case. It was whether his reputation could ever recover from what the world heard in that courtroom.